Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Reckoning of Roku chapter analysis video. This one's going to be for chapter 17, which is called Under the Altered Sky. So once again, YouTube channel membership is enabled if you want to help support the channel, and subscribing is also a big help. But let's jump in here to this pretty short chapter. So we're back with Roku and Gyatso, and effectively this one is about they kind of both wake up. They both clearly had kind of, significant dreams. And eventually we build up to them each talking about their dreams to each other. And they're kind of very different types of dreams, which we will get into here. So the start of the chapter is mostly just kind of like the build up to that. They continue to make progress across the island to get to the place where they need to go, catch onto the trail effectively. And they stop, and as they kind of camp for the night, they look up and they kind of both realize that, oh, the stars are different, because they're used to, over the last few months, being at the Southern Air Temple, and so now that they're more towards like the equator, the stars are kind of slightly different, and they kind of there's a uniqueness there. And so they have this discussion about dreams while kind of staring up at the under the altered sky. That's why the chapter is called that. So yeah, they both kind of can't really sleep, bad dreams, something like that. Care to share? No. Then they have a little bit of a side tangent as like they hear a bunch of like animals moving, that like some bats fly by, and Gyatso says, "Oh, I hope they're not buzzard wasps," but it's like a flock of bats. But then we cut to Gyatso finally decides, okay, he's gonna talk about his dream, and he talks here about how I dreamt I was riding Lola above the clouds. I felt happier and freer than I have in a long time. When she descended, we were at the Southern Air Temple, but it was burning. Every tower, every structure, all of it on fire. He says he doesn't know why. But I knew I had to help. I was the only one who could help. I stood with my staff and channeled my chi, preparing to airbend a huge gust of wind, one that would extinguish all the flames, but when I released my energy, nothing happened. I tried again and again and again. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Then Lola suddenly banked away from the temple, and I slid off her saddle and dropped through the sky. And suddenly I was in the inner sanctuary, cornered by soldiers. Whose? And Gyatso says, not sure, dream logic, I guess. But they wanted to end me, and that they would end me unless I could airbend, and unless I was willing to use my airbending to take their lives. Did you? I woke up right as they attacked. Now, there's an interesting thing here, because I don't immediately assume that it's obvious what they're like directly trying to say there, even though the text following this is like the airbender didn't need an interpretation. The meaning was obvious enough, and I'm kind of like, yes and no, like to the point where you literally write that it's really obvious what that's about. I'm not sure about that. But we'll come back to the interpretation in a second. Roku realizing, I probably shouldn't just say like it'll be okay. I'll talk about my dream. I dreamt I was swimming with Sozin and Yasu. We used to go swimming all the time when we were kids. We would have competitions with each other, holding breath the longest, swimming the furthest, the fastest. He says, Sozin and Yasu were sore losers, but not me. I never really cared who won. I was just happy to be with them. What happened in the dream? Nothing. We were just out there, like it was a perfect day. That doesn't sound like a bad dream. And Roku says it wasn't. The bad part was waking up. So you have the difference there between the idea of Roku actually has this really good dream, but it's of something that he wishes could be the case, wishes kind of was the case. And the kind of nightmare kind of aspect of it is that is not reality. Whereas Gyatso very clearly has more of a direct bad dream, where he, like, to a certain degree, like, do you interpret this as, like, looking ahead to the future, he, in a way, has a borderline vision of the future, of the air nomad genocide, the temples on fire, that sort of thing? Because there's two clear, like, visuals to that. The idea of Southern Air Temple, every building on fire, and then him, Gyatso, being cornered by soldiers prepared to kill him, and him having to make a decision as an air nomad of if he can use airbending to kill. Given that people have always speculated about the scene where Gyatso's kind of skeleton is found, and why is it surrounded by also dead firebenders? That would suggest he did something that killed the people who were attacking him, you know, that whole idea. So there's clearly that suggestion here. But then there's also the idea of, because these two characters, their arcs so far have been about how do they feel about the person that they lost. Roku's one is very obvious what they're kind of going for here, in a way, like, this is what should have happened, and we're going to eventually find out what did actually happen, because we know it's related to swimming, and now we have a direct kind of a dream kind of flashback style thing of them swimming, so we kind of have a setup for what we're going to get there. Obviously, the thing with Yama, Gyatso's sister, is not necessarily like the Southern Air Temple was on fire. It's nothing like this, but it speaks to the idea of like Gyatso's sort of like helplessness. He wasn't able to save his sister, whereas his airbending only comes back when he has moments where he can potentially try to save Roku, and there's that aspect of things. He has a dream about it being on him to save the airbenders, but him not being able to, and then being put in a situation where it's like, people are going to kill you. Will you do this thing that is not viewed well by the airbenders, and that is kill someone using your airbending? Is that something that you can bring yourself to do, even in an extreme situation like this? And in a way, he's not sure. And we know that, like, Gyatso's feelings about this are like anger, rage to a certain degree. So, you know, we're talking about these type of things as well. You know, just that feeling of almost like, as well, Lola kind of flying off and him dropping, like their connection, his airbending connection kind of failing. There's that aspect of it as well. But then there's also because we know the future of this character, this is very foreshadowing of what will happen to him in the future, which is quite interesting to think about. So definitely in the comments on this one, let me know what your thoughts are. I think the main event here is probably the Gyatso dream. What way do you interpret it? Do you think it's obvious enough what they're suggesting here? Have I missed something? Or what were your thoughts when you read this for the first time? I'm definitely interested to see what the discussion is about that, because it seems so like, oh, that's very clear, I think, about what they're trying to do here. It links into his main arc, but if the future it also links into. And then, of course, a little bit more Roku, Yasu, and Sozin backstory is always nice to get as well. But we'll get to more important stuff with these characters, I think, in the next chapter. So yeah, again, another pretty quick chapter, but thought-provoking with the dream interpretation stuff. So let me know your thoughts below, but otherwise that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.